Hi there, welcome to Cybersecurity Dojo. My name's Dave, and in today's video, we're going to discuss an important cybersecurity concept, encryption and hashing. We'll cover topics such as what each one does, why they're used, and the key differences between them. Stick around, because all that and more is coming up. Let's start by breaking down encryption, covering what it is, how it works, and why it's essential in cybersecurity. Encryption is the process of converting readable data, called plaintext, into unreadable format, called ciphertext, using a key. This ensures that only authorized users with the correct key can reverse the encryption through a process called decryption, restoring the data to a readable format. Encryption is crucial because it protects data, whether it's in transit or at rest on your hard drive, from being viewed or accessed by unauthorized individuals or systems, ensuring confidentiality, one of the three pillars of the CIA triad. And if you're unfamiliar with the CIA triad, I highly recommend checking out my previous video where I cover it in depth, and I'll link that down in the description of this video. Now, there are two main types of encryption, each with its own use case. First, we'll talk about symmetric encryption. This type of encryption uses one key, which is used for both encrypting and decrypting data. Think of symmetric encryption like a locked door that requires the same key to both lock and unlock it. If you want to secure your house, you use a key to lock the door. And when you want to unlock the door, you need to use the exact same key. That's how symmetric encryption works. Unfortunately, this type of encryption does not scale well. And if you want to share access with someone, you'll have to securely give them a copy of the key. And I say securely because if someone intercepts it, they can unlock your door, just like how an attacker who gains access to the encryption key can decrypt the data. Use cases for this type of encryption include file encryption, virtual private networks, also known as VPNs, and full disk encryption. A VPN is a network security service that encrypts data as it travels between your device and another system, essentially creating a secure tunnel that protects your data from eavesdroppers. Full disk encryption ensures your entire hard drive is protected from unauthorized access to your stored data, even if someone gains physical access to your device. To get around the issue with scalability, we use asymmetric encryption. This uses a pair of keys called the public key, which encrypts data, and a private key, which decrypts it. And unlike symmetric encryption, where securely sharing the key is a challenge, asymmetric encryption allows anyone to encrypt data using your public key without ever needing access to the private key, eliminating the risk of key interception during transmission. Let's think of asymmetric encryption like a locked mailbox that's used for people to send you messages securely. Instead of handing out a copy of the key to everyone, you install a mailbox with a slot where anyone can drop a letter in, but only you have the key to unlock the mailbox and read the messages. Use cases include secure web browsing via HTTPS, email encryption, and digital signatures. Web servers that use secure communication are issued digital certificates to validate their identities, and these certificates contain a public key that allows visitors to encrypt their traffic when communicating with the website. And one important thing to note is that asymmetric encryption uses more system resources than symmetric encryption. And because of this, many systems like web servers using HTTPS use asymmetric encryption to establish a secure connection and then switch back to symmetric encryption. The process typically starts with the client visiting a website. They'll get a copy of the digital certificate containing the public key, which they'll then use to encrypt a symmetric key and send it off to the web server. The web server will then decrypt it with its private key and securely establishes a shared session key for encrypting further communication between the client and the server. Now that we understand how encryption protects data by making it unreadable to unauthorized users, let's shift gears and talk about hashing, how it ensures data integrity, and how it's different from encryption. Unlike encryption, which is designed to protect data confidentiality, hashing is used to ensure data integrity, meaning it helps you verify that data has not been altered. It's also used for digital signatures and password storage, which we'll talk more about in a later video. Hashing works by taking an input such as a file, password, or message and running it through a mathematical function to generate a fixed length string of characters known as a hash value or digest. Because this hash is theoretically unique to whatever string of text or file it was generated for, if even a tiny change is made to the input, it'll result in a completely different hash. It's also worth noting that unlike encryption, hashes are not reversible. I wouldn't be able to tell you what was hashed hashed. But if you make a change to the original text and then generate another hash, I could tell you if it was different, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what was changed. For example, if you hash the phrase Cybersecurity Dojo, you'll get one hash. However, if you change a single letter from a lowercase to an uppercase, the hash will be completely different. This is called the Avalanche effect and is one of the key properties of secure hashing functions. Now, before we move on, I'd like to take a moment to show you how changing a single character in a string of text can change a file's hash value. Alright, so we're now on my Windows desktop, and I already created a text file containing the string Cybersecurity Dojo. I saved this as example.txt, which is stored in my documents folder. I also opened PowerShell. I can create a hash of this file by running the commandlet get-filehash, and then the name of the file. As you can see, it's using the algorithm SHA-256, which is the default hashing algorithm used by PowerShell. We can also see that the hash is fairly long. And if I wanted to use a different hashing algorithm like MD5, I could specify the -algorithm flag in the algorithm that I want to use. So I'll put MD5 and hit enter. This results in a much smaller hash value. Please take note of this, as we're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a moment. Next, let's make a quick change to the file I created. We'll change the O in Dojo to a capital O and then save it. We can now recalculate our hash, and it should be a completely different value. As you can see, it is indeed a completely different value. That's because we made a change to the file contents, and therefore this specific file has a different digital fingerprint. If we change it back in the document and save, we can then rerun our calculation. Alright, it's back to the original value due to that specific string of characters generating this specific hash. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that these hashes are theoretically unique. One of the potential problems with hashing is the possibility to have two different inputs generate the same hash due to hashing functions being designed to map any size input into a fixed length output, meaning that there are only so many hash values, and eventually two different inputs could produce the same hash. This concept is called a hash collision. Now, these are rare to find when we use stronger algorithms like SHA-256, but theoretically, it can still happen. An example of a real-world hash collision is called a birthday attack. This is a specific type of attack that takes advantage of the mathematics behind probability theory to find hash collisions much faster than a brute force approach. While it sounds like a silly name, it's actually based on the birthday paradox, which essentially says that if you get a group of 23 people into the same room, there's a 50% chance that two people share the same birthday. This happens because we're not comparing just one specific person's birthday with everyone else's, we're comparing everyone's birthday with everyone else's, which dramatically increases the odds of a match. And the more people we put in the room, the higher chance of finding a match we have. And as far as how this type of attack relates to hashing, a birthday attack doesn't try to match one specific hash because that would take a long time. Instead, it looks for any two inputs that happen to have the same hash, much like how we're looking for any two people who happen to have the same birthday. Since hash values have a finite number of possible outputs, the more hashes we generate, the greater chance of eventually finding a collision we have. This means if we have security controls that rely specifically on checking file hashes to ensure that the file hasn't been modified, and we have two files that generate the same hash, an attacker can substitute one file for the other and we wouldn't know. This is one of the reasons we've moved away from hashing algorithms like Mess's Digest 5, MD5, and secure hashing algorithm 1, SHA-1. They're vulnerable to birthday attacks, and collisions can be found rather quickly with the technology that we have access to today. Instead, we use stronger hashing algorithms like SHA-256, which we saw just a moment ago, that generate a much longer hash value, because it's significantly less likely that a collision will be found. Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this video, so let's do a quick recap. Encryption is a reversible process used to protect data confidentiality by converting readable plaintext into unreadable ciphertext, which can only be decrypted using the correct key. It's used for securing communications, files, and sensitive data in transit and at rest. Hashing is a one-way process that ensures data integrity by generating a fixed length hash value where even a single character change in the inputs result in a completely different hash. Hashing is used for password storage, data verification, and digital signatures. Understanding these concepts is critical in cybersecurity, as they're used in everything from secure login systems and encrypted messaging to digital signatures and data integrity verification. If you found this video helpful, or you would like to see more cybersecurity related content like this, Be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.